Hey, what's going on guys? Chad here with Greenlight Shooting and welcome back to another video. Today we're reviewing this biometric handgun safe made by PINEWORLD. They're calling this their K5 safe. It is designed to hold 2 pistols and it's a pretty cool safe, man. So if you've been a fan of the channel for a while, you know we've done a lot of videos on safes, on a lot of different, biometric handguns, smart safes, things like that. And we've got a lot to compare this thing to. So I'm excited to get into it. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But right now I just want to give you an overview on this thing. So as I mentioned, this is made by a company called PINEWORLD and this is their K5 safe. In terms of dimensions, we're looking at about 13.5 inches by 10.5 inches. It's made of 10 gauge solid steel and it weighs 16.5 pounds, which honestly seems quite a bit heavier than a lot of the other ones we've felt. There are screw holes to mount this thing to whatever you want, as well as a powerful steel cable to be able to fix it to something like a bedside or under the car seat or whatever you want. Now I've been using this thing for about 2 weeks now, trying to put it through its paces. I went on a trip that I took it on, so I've been throwing this thing in and out of bags, in the back of the truck, things like that. So it's gotten a little bit of wear and tear. So just keep that in mind. I was pretty rough on this thing for review reasons, so I would probably excuse that. I don't know how much of that would actually play into a normal everyday person's life with this safe. But anyways, this safe is accessible in I think 4 different ways here. So we've got a keypad, so we've got kind of some raised buttons that are a little bit rubbery feeling. They do light up and beep when you push them. There's a back button and a check button. You need a 6 to 8 digit code to be able to get in here, and there are 5 keys. There's also a biometric scanner right here, and there is a key, and there's also an app that goes along with it as well. On the inside here, as I mentioned, it is a dual pistol safe, so there is room for really 2 handguns that are pretty realistic. I'll go through kind of different size comparison here in just a minute. This lid is raised and lowered with this hydraulic stand here. Inside you've got a pick-proof alarm button as well as a reset button, and then one big latch right here in the middle. The inside of this safe is lined with a foam that you can tell is pretty dense. I assume it's probably a foam designed to be able to not react to gun oils and things like that, not corrode anything on firearms and things like that. So yeah, overall at first glance it's a pretty sound safe. Now let's go through each of those different ways to unlock this safe. Then we'll do some size comparisons with the different handguns in there, and then I'll give you some of my subjective feedback after using this thing for a little bit. So as I mentioned, you do have a keypad here. You need 6 keys minimum or up to 8, and you can scramble the keypad a little bit. And what I mean by that is, say you have a 6 digit code, you can put in up to 10 digits, and as long as your code is in there, it will still unlock. So for instance, I just set the code simple 1 2 3 4 5 1, so that's 6 buttons. But if I say I'll push 3 4 and then 1 2 3 4 5 1, and then I have to hit the check button, and it'll still read that. You can hear that little voice speaker in just a bit, so that's kind of annoying. You can actually turn that thing off just by long pressing the 2, which is certainly a needed feature. I would definitely turn that thing off if this was my safe. Next up, we have a fingerprint biometric scanner, and this is one of the highlights of this safe personally. We've seen a lot of these on these cheaper safes, and the biometric scanners they're a little bit smaller, even like on the Voltex and things that I used to use a lot. They're a little bit smaller, and I always had trouble with my fingerprint. My fingers are really, really sweaty, and I just don't have good luck with these. This is probably the best biometric sensor I've seen on a safe, and the reason is because when you set this safe up and you put in the administrator fingerprint, it has you do it 6 different times. So like, you put your fingerprint on one, like if you're familiar with an iPhone, how it does it, and then you go back and forth and you do like 6 different angles of your finger, so that regardless of where you put your finger on there, it's going to have a much higher chance of reading it. So this thing is still kind of hit and miss with my fingers because they're sweaty. I always say don't take my fingers as evidence of how this thing will react to yours. Even iPhones don't work with my fingers. My MacBook Pro, my $5,000 laptop doesn't work with my fingerprint. So don't take that. But what I will say is I have got this thing to work. You can see it didn't work right there. I have got this thing to take my fingerprint before. The other nice thing about this safe is after like, I think 4 or 5 attempts with this, when they're incorrect, this will set off an alarm. So if, you know, your kid or something like that is trying to get into your safe, they're putting their finger on it a bunch, it will alert you with an audible alarm. So, but just keep in mind, I think the fingerprint sensor is probably the best one I've seen on these other ones, just not specifically for my finger. Next up, we have a manual key. So it comes with 2 keys right here. They're pretty giant, which is kind of nice because I can't tell you how many of those little tiny keys that I've lost with handgun safes like this. But anyways, one interesting thing about this safe is it's got a pick-proof alarm. What that means is if someone's in there with a pick trying to, you know, mess with the key in here, or actually inserts the actual key and then opens the safe, you'll hear there's an alarm that goes off. Inside there is a little button right here that's called the pick-proof alarm button. You have to push that 3 times to disable that. The manufacturers reached out to me and they're like, we understand that's kind of an annoying feature, especially if you're someone who likes to use the key a lot. It's just meant to deter, you know, picking, as well as, you know, if someone is unauthorized in your household or something like that, your kids or whatever, and they got a hold of the key and they don't have the, you know, keypad, you know, entrance, this is obviously a way into the safe. And yeah, so they just wanted to be able to alert someone if you're getting in, and like I said, you can turn it off pretty quick with that button right there. Kind of an interesting feature. And then you'll also notice there's a USB-C charge port right here. So this thing runs on AA batteries. You need 4 AA batteries. It does not come with those, which is really annoying, but whatever. If you're gonna send a safe out to someone to review it, send them batteries. Anyways, so you need 4 AA batteries to run this thing. If those batteries were to die, it says it's got about an 18-month shelf life with those batteries. So, you know, if you needed to access this thing, you realize that the battery was totally dead, you could just plug this thing in, give it enough charge to be able to put your code in, pop it open, and then you can insert new batteries. So it's kind of nice that it's got a little safeguard there. And then the last thing is the app. So this runs on the Tuya app, T-U-Y-A. So the Tuya app is sort of like a general app that you can hook up a lot of different smart devices to. They said eventually they'll create their own app, but for now they're just using this app. The app has a couple different functionalities. Number one, it's got a history of alarms. It'll tell you, like it just told me that I used my wrong fingerprint so many times that it set the alarm off, that kind of a thing. You can also add or remove users to be able to access the safe, and you can categorize them by family member or non-family member. And there are records as well. So right here, it'll tell me today, which is Tuesday at 12:58, someone unlocked the safe with the password. So, you know, that just gives you a little bit more peace of mind to be able to know who's unlocking it when. And then finally is their remote unlock access. So if I hold down the 4 button, then I get a notice on the app that says click open remotely. So if I push that, it's gonna say, is this remote opening allowed? Please respond, hit confirm. And I can remotely open it. And it's actually pretty cool. So, you know, we tested this. I was way down the street, Kyle stayed in here. That's kind of dope. Like, you have to set this up on like a Wi-Fi system, which I thought you had to be on the same Wi-Fi and in that same location to be able to remotely unlock like that, but it doesn't seem like you do. So that's pretty cool. Now I will preface that by saying there is no like push notification on my phone. Like if my phone's locked, there's nothing that pops up and says so-and-so is requesting to get into your safe. I think that would be great. There might be a way to set that up in the settings of that app. I really didn't dive too deep into that. So, you know, I'm not saying there isn't a way. All I'm saying is it doesn't do that by default. You have to be in the app looking at your safe, and then it pops up and says, click to remotely unlock. But in any case, that's still a cool option. Maybe not cool for, you know, like life and deaths kind of situations, but if it's your wife, if there's like a birth certificate in there or something she needs for something, she can call you and say, hey, can you, remotely unlock this thing for me? That's kind of a cool option. So those are the different ways that you can access the interior of this safe. Now, let's look a little bit in terms of size here. So I've got 2 kind of compact pistols right here. I've got an M&P 9C that fits in there, as well as a Glock 19 with a big full-sized Surefire X300 Ultra Light on there, and those fit with plenty of room. In fact, I could probably fit at least 1 more magazine in there next to it, maybe some spare rounds, maybe like a small box of ammo or something. So there's definitely enough room for something like that. If you've just got 1 pistol, you can, stack probably 4 mags in there. there, or maybe a flashlight and some ammo. There's a good amount of storage in there for one pistol. Now, if I bring in the big boy, this is a 5¼ inch Pro performance slide. We've got an extended 22 round mag on here with a red dot up on top. It does fit that. I can squeeze this other M&P compact in there, so I can have a very, very full-size pistol, optic on top, extended mag, long slide, and still have enough room for another compact pistol, or I can just have that again with a couple different mags, ammo, flashlight, something like that. But for the most part, I think the ideal situation, if you're going for a 2-pistol setup, is something in the realm of this. Maybe one full-size, one compact in there, or one handgun and then a bunch of different accessories. That, I think, is your sort of gold setup for a safe sized like this. But I will say it's not too often that I can fit this gun and another gun in the same safe that's not, designated as sort of a higher tier level safe. Okay, so now we've kind of gone over all of the objective things about this safe. Let's talk a little bit about my subjective opinions on this thing. Number one is aesthetics. I'm coming from the world of mostly working with Vaultex in the past, but having a good sense of what's out there from a couple of different reviews I've done, I will say this is one of the better looking safes. Maybe not up to that Vaultex standard in terms of aesthetics, but it's certainly a good looking enough safe. If this was sitting on your bedside or something like that, somewhere where people can see it, it's mounted down, it's got this steel cable wrapped around it so it's secure or whatever, but it's out for the world to see, I think it's a good looking safe. It's simple, it's clean, it's nice. The things I do like about it is right here where the seam meets, it's actually the steel's like folded under each other like this, so like getting a pry bar or something in there would be extremely difficult. It's also pretty freaking thick steel. Like it would be very difficult to get in there. Like, I'm not saying you couldn't pry into this or you couldn't cut into this, but you would need significant amount of time. And at the end of the day, that's what these safes are, is they're either designed for quick access and on like a bedside kind of a thing or something like that, or if they're meant for defense, they're meant as a hard deterrent. They're meant to add time to whoever it is trying to get into this. And this one would certainly add that time. It is very robust. It is heavy, as I originally mentioned. Yeah, it's a good setup on the exterior for sure. Now, there are these two like plastic liners on the side that I don't love. I've noticed that as I've, kind of used this thing a little bit, like you can kind of see right there, that's pulling off. I don't know what the function is of these plastic liners. Maybe it's just to, hide some exposed hardware or something under there. I don't know, but it's kind of an eyesore to me in the sense that it's got a lip, and that lip, if I move it on things, tends to catch. So for instance, you hear that? If I run that across anything that's not perfectly smooth, that lip catches on things, and that's what's causing it to pull apart, as well as just, not be a smooth experience. Now let's talk about the interior. So the interior, I do like that it is lined with this nice dense foam. I feel fine about having at least my polymer guns in there for sure. If I had something that was like a really nice, expensive 1911 or something like that, I don't know, I might want that in something and then in here. But overall, in terms of like, keeping my firearms safe, especially firearms like this, I have no concerns whatsoever. My really only biggest concern about this interior is that it's not very much storage space for how big of a footprint the safe is. You can kind of see we're losing a lot of space. Like this is unusable and this is unusable because of this. So really that's the only usable area. We just discussed it's probably plenty of space for especially that single or dual pistol setup. It's got such a big footprint that I would love to be able to fit even more in there. We're losing, a really good chunk of space up here with the front, with the speaker and the computer or whatever's going on up there. So in future iterations, it would be dope to see that all kind of either minimized down and everything brought in smaller, or everything expanded and made bigger while keeping the same overall footprint. I like this hydraulic system quite a bit. It really pushes up this heavy lid. You feel like it's very secure. But I don't love how it's mounted down here because again, we're losing that much space along the entirety of the side of it for this thing to live. So I think maybe that could be rearranged a little bit better in future iterations. And then last thing is just some of this exposed hardware. Like you can see this nut right here. There's a wing nut down here. There's just exposed screws and things in a lot of places that it's not a big deal. It's just something that sticks out to me. So, you know, take that for what it's worth. I do like this big robust hinge in the back. It's not just two, you know, pieces of metal with hinges or whatever. Like this is a giant cylindrical piece of steel kind of thing that's moving up and down. So I feel really solid about the rigidity and the durability of this thing. In fact, so much so that like these guys sent this to me and they recommended, hey, run this over with a car, like tow it with a car with this thing. They were fine with me destroying this thing. And I don't feel like they would be fine unless they've, you know, proven that the durability is there. So I'm not going to do those things. Like it's not really realistic for me to do those things, but just know that they're okay with me doing it, which to me makes it seem like this thing is designed to hold up to those durability standards. So then let's talk a little bit about that speaker. It's awful. Just turn that thing right off. Like,
already unlocked.
Who needs to know that it's already unlocked? That's nonsense. I'm gonna hold number 2 right now.
Successful.
That thing should be totally off now. So, way better. The other thing is like, you don't want beeps, you don't want sounds. If someone's in your house in the middle of the night, you don't wanna be popping into your safe and it's saying already unlocked. You know what I mean? Like, just kill the voice. The key lock thing, unlocking it and the alarm going off, I don't know, it's weird. I don't know that it's necessary, but it's weird. I wish that there was I don't mind that it's there, I just wish that there was a way to turn that alarm off entirely. That's kind of my take on the PINEWORLD. Overall, I think it's a pretty good thing, man. It's sleek, it's good looking, it is robust AF. It's got 4 different ways to, you know, get into this thing. I like the buttons, I like the biometric, I like the remote access app. And like I said, it's durable. It's made to withstand a lot. You've got this steel cable. Overall, it's a good looking feature-full safe. So if you're interested in this thing, check it out. I've got a link to it down in the description below. So price-wise, this thing is coming in, I believe, at about $170 on Amazon. So it kind of puts it above a lot of those lower end safes that are, you know, $100, sub $100. Not quite as high as some of those little bit more professional grade safes. So I think it's in a really good spot for a little bit more accessibility, a little bit more professional quality features, while still being somewhat affordable. So 170 bucks. I don't know, I think it's probably worth it. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. If you liked this video, please hit that like button. If this is something that interests you, there is a link like I mentioned. This channel is no longer monetized due to YouTube's whatever. So the way that I'm keeping this channel going is from the support of people like you. If you enjoy these products, go pick yourself one up. That helps me, that lets the brands know that I'm doing my thing, and everyone wins. So anyways, if you guys enjoyed it, like I said, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe if you are down for the ride, and I'll catch you next time on Greenlight Shooting. Thanks so much for watching. Peace out.